The seatbelt buckle still smelled like my cologne. I noticed it as I clicked it in, a faint mix of cedar and old air freshener, clinging where my chest used to sit every morning. But that afternoon, it felt like a stranger had already claimed it. And when I scrolled through Instagram an hour later, the caption under the photo said it out loud. First big step, new ride, new chapter, let's go. It was my car. I'm Nate. 32, live in Dayton, Ohio, and work inventory control at a warehouse that ships specialty coffee equipment. Not the most glamorous job, but it's steady. And after 3 years of carpooling and scraping for Uber money on snow days, I finally saved enough to buy a used 2016 Volkswagen Passat. Nothing flashy, but clean title, one owner, low miles. To me, it was like buying back a piece of dignity. I'm the kind of guy who tracks gas mileage in a notebook and keeps a microfiber cloth in the glove box for the dashboard. I don't have a garage, but I park under a sycamore near my duplex and check the weather app like a hawk. That car meant something. It meant I wasn't stuck anymore. And then there's Caleb. We met freshman year at Wright State, both in the same Intro to Statistics class. He was loud, charming, knew every trick to make the professor laugh. I was the quiet guy who always had pens, notes, and a weird ability to remember formula sheets. We fell into a rhythm, him dragging me to house parties, me pulling his GPA up just enough to graduate. After college, he bounced around, substitute teaching, part-time coding boot camp, food delivery, always on the verge of something bigger, but somehow never quite landing. I lent him money a few times, nothing major, 20 here, 40 there. Once I spotted him 200 for rent, but he swore he'd get it back once this freelance gig pays out. That was 18 months ago. We weren't roommates anymore, just old friends, catching up at Buffalo Wild Wings, still trading stories about girls who ghosted us, or bosses who micromanaged. Lately, though, I could feel him drifting into a weird space, like he wanted me to still be that shy, broke guy who needed his social cover. It was Friday night when it started. "Bro," Caleb said, pushing his plate aside like he was dropping news, "I met someone." I raised an eyebrow. "Someone who makes you look that nervous?" He grinned. "Nervous good. She's smart, like pre-med smart. And she's classy. None of that Tinder drama. I met her through this alumni thing downtown." "Nice," I said. "What's her name?" "Erin. We've been texting. She thinks I own a consulting firm." He paused, then added, "Long story." That's when I should have known. He leaned in. "Here's the thing. She wants to meet up Sunday. Somewhere nice. But I can't show up in my Civic right now. The bumper's literally zip-tied." "Wait, the Civic's still running?" "Barely," he laughed, but it was strained. "Man, could I borrow your car just for Sunday afternoon? Just for the optics? I'll top off the tank, promise." I stared at him. He knew how I felt about that car. I was still making payments. I rotated the tires myself. I even bought those rain-repelling wipers. "I don't know, man," I said. "I've barely let my sister drive it." He looked me dead in the eye. "Nate, it's just one date. You trust me, right?" "That's what he said." I said yes. Sunday came and went. He picked it up around noon. I handed him the keys after wiping down the mirrors. He wore this blazer I'd never seen before, like he was auditioning for Shark Tank. I watched him pull away slow, careful, like he knew it wasn't his. That gave me a weird sliver of hope. I spent the day doing laundry and clearing out old job alerts from my inbox. Around 6:30, I texted, "All good?" No response. By 8, I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. At 9, he sent a text. "All good. TX again." That was it. I didn't sleep well that night. Something about the silence felt off, like I'd handed over more than just my keys. The next morning, I was scrolling through Instagram while sipping coffee from the chipped Browns mug I always forget to replace. Caleb had posted a photo, a slick wide-angle shot, him leaning against the Passat's hood, wearing that same blazer, sunglasses low on his nose. The caption read, "Level up complete. First ride. New goals. New grind. #self-made." I blinked, scrolled again. He'd tagged a local car club, tagged a lender, and worse, people in the comments were congratulating him. "Clean ride, bro. Finally got that upgrade, I see." Even Aaron had commented, "You didn't tell me it was this nice." My stomach flipped. I sat there, phone warm in my hand, coffee going cold, heart catching up to my brain. He didn't just borrow my car. He'd posted it as if it belonged to him. I didn't go to work that day. I sat at my tiny kitchen table, the one with the wobble I never fixed, and scrolled. Post after post. Apparently, he'd started doing this with other stuff too. A photo in a fancy co-working space. That was our public library downtown. A snap in a leather chair with a whiskey glass. That was a hotel lobby I recognized from Yelp. But this was my car. I texted him again. "Hey man, can we talk?" He replied, "What's up? You said just for optics, not for Instagram flexes." He replied a minute later, "Dude, relax. It was one pic. I gave it back." But he hadn't. At least, not yet. I called him. He didn't answer. I called again. Voicemail. Around noon, I walked the half block to where I always parked. The Passat wasn't there. I stood there for a while, just watching cars go by. Then I did something I hadn't done in months. I opened Find My Car on my phone. I'd set it up months ago when I first got the car, mostly because I kept forgetting where I parked downtown. The pin was 4 miles away, near the river, at a brewery. I walked back home, grabbed my spare key, and called a Lyft. The brewery lot was packed with late lunch traffic, and there it was, my Passat, parked at an angle, gleaming, and there he was, sitting inside with a woman in the passenger seat, laughing. I walked straight toward the driver's side and knocked once, hard. Caleb looked up like I'd just shattered a dream. Aaron turned, confused. I said one sentence, "Get out of my car." He stepped out, mouth opening like he was about to explain something with too many syllables. "Nate, bro, come on." Nah, I said. "You lied. You said it was one afternoon." "It was," he said, hands out. "But Aaron wanted to." "You told people it was yours." He looked caught, then shrugged. "It's not a big deal, man. It's just perception." Perception. I walked to the driver's side, opened the door, and slid in. He stood there, frozen, arms half lifted like he didn't know if I was going to hit him or hug him. "Bro, I was going to tag you," he said. "Eventually." I shut the door and locked it, pulled out slow. Aaron was still sitting in the passenger seat, silent. I didn't look back, but I saw her expression in the rearview mirror. It wasn't curiosity. It was realization. I didn't go straight home. I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just let the streets wind me around the edges of Dayton while my hands stayed clenched on the wheel, knuckles bone white, jaw locked so tight I could hear my molars grind. The air inside the car was wrong. My own scent, the familiar feel of the steering wheel, it all felt invaded. Like I'd walked into my own apartment and found someone sleeping in my bed. He wore my car like a costume, and I had let him. It wasn't just the Instagram post. It was the look in his eyes when I knocked on the window, the mixture of guilt and irritation, like I had interrupted his moment. Like I was just some bitter footnote to a story he was trying to tell the world. The woman in the passenger seat, Erin, she hadn't said a word, just stared, one hand on her clutch, the other slowly sliding her phone off her lap, like she wasn't sure whether to check her texts or call an Uber. I passed the Sinclair campus, then the Kroger on Wayne Avenue, then the strip mall where we used to hang out in college. My fuel light came on, and I pulled into a BP station. That's when the first text came in. Caleb, yo, that was not cool. I didn't answer. Caleb, she thought I owned it. Now I look like a clown. Caleb, you made it weird. Just delete the post and it's done. That one made me laugh out loud inside my car. My car. Me. Delete the post. Give me my spare key back. And stay away from my stuff. Caleb, you serious? Over one post? Caleb, you act like I crashed it or something. That last part hit a nerve I hadn't expected. Because suddenly I could see it. Him going too fast, trying to impress someone, hitting the curb, bottoming out on a pothole he didn't see coming. I texted one more thing. Me. Meet me tonight. Gas station by Ridge and Oakley. Bring the key. He didn't show up. I waited 45 minutes. Even bought a bottled water and paced around the parking lot until the clerk gave me a look like I was casing the place. When I got home, the first thing I did was pull out my documents folder. Title, insurance, service receipts. The second thing I did was call my lock guy. Hey, remember when you swapped my mailbox cylinder last winter? Yeah. You do car ignitions too? Depends on the make. Wednesday morning, I was late to work. I didn't care. I stopped by Caleb's place instead, a ground-level apartment in a triplex near Patterson Park. I'd helped him move into it 6 months earlier, carried the same futon we'd once used as a couch in our dorm. That day, we'd laughed about how little had changed. Now, I stood outside his screen door while he groggily stepped out in boxers and a Dayton Dragons hoodie. He saw me and groaned. You still mad? You got the key? I don't know where I put it, he said, yawning. It's in my coat, maybe. You mean my coat? That woke him up. I gave that back. You didn't. It was on the seat when you returned the car. He rubbed his temple. Look, I'll find it. But Jesus, Nate, you're acting like I stole your dog. I didn't say anything, just looked at him. You're gonna ice me out over a picture? He added, voice getting tight. A caption? It wasn't just a caption, I said. It was identity theft dressed up like flattery. What the hell does that mean? It means you don't want to be you, so you try being me, just for the weekend, just for the likes. He rolled his eyes. Man, you always take things too seriously. It's just a game. Perception is everything. People post stuff all the time that isn't exactly true. Filters, hashtags, fake flexes. That's how it works. Yeah? I said. Then post about how you borrowed it. Be real. He went quiet for half a second then. I'm not posting that. It makes me look pathetic. I nodded. Exactly. That night, I scheduled the rekey. $250, including new fobs. The next day, I had the locks changed while parked in the lot at the old rec center. I watched the guy work. Hands quick and sure, like he'd done this 100 times before. When he handed me the new key, I didn't even hesitate. It felt like cutting off a limb to save the rest of the body. But the story didn't end there. Because Caleb? Caleb escalated. First came the subtweets, passive-aggressive little jabs about fake, friends, and jealous energy. I didn't respond. Then came the Venmo request, $20 for gas. I declined. Then finally came the DMs, screenshots of people who had seen the post and loved the vibe. He started spinning the story like he had meant it as a joke, said I was overreacting, said I was being toxic. I blocked him everywhere. And then one morning, 2 weeks later, a coworker, Maria from accounting, tapped me on the shoulder in the break room. Hey, she said, lowering her voice. You're friends with Caleb Morris, right? I felt my stomach flip. Not anymore, well, I said. Why? She showed me her phone. It was a Facebook post. Caleb had started a new page, Lifestyle and Business Coaching, and the banner image, my Passat. Cropped slightly, filtered, but definitely mine. You see the caption? Maria asked. I nodded. It said, started with nothing, built it from grit. This is my story. Book a clarity call. That was when I realized something had to change. He wasn't just flexing anymore. He was building a brand, with my life as the raw material. The email subject line read, reuse of personal property and unauthorized marketing materials. I didn't think I'd ever have to write a line like that in my life. But there I was, sitting at my kitchen table at 11:15 on a Saturday morning, laptop open, still in flannel pants, drafting something that sounded halfway between a cease and desist and a very angry Yelp review. Because what do you do when your former best friend rebrands himself as a self-made entrepreneur using your car, your photo angles, your hand towels still hanging on the passenger side door? You document, you build the file, and maybe you get ahead of it before someone else starts confusing him for you. I started by saving everything. Screenshots, time-stamped posts, cached versions of his coaching website before he could edit them. I even pulled metadata from some of his photos using a browser plugin. And yes, one of them still had my license plate partially visible under a blur filter. Sloppy. Next, I went through old texts, pulled the thread where he asked to borrow the car, flagged his promise to top off the tank, flagged the timestamp of when he ghosted me and when the Instagram post went up. Then I checked our mutuals, people from college, friends of friends, and that's when I saw it. A woman named Talia, someone I vaguely remembered from a party back in 2016, had shared his coach announcement with a caption, "Proud of my friend Caleb, can't believe how far you've come." Except the photo she shared wasn't just of Caleb leaning on my car. It was a carousel, 5 photos total. One showed the driver's side door open. One showed the keys in his hand. One, and this was the kicker, had him sitting in the car, hand on the wheel, with the dealership sticker still barely visible on the rear window. Except that dealership was the one I bought from. I recognized the parking lot. I even recognized the car behind mine in the shot. A green Honda Fit I had test-driven and hated. These weren't just flex photos. These were lies. And they were time-stamped weeks after he borrowed the car. That's when I got mad. Not embarrassed, not frustrated, not even sad about the friendship anymore. I got mad. Because this wasn't about a one-time mistake or some blurry line between fiction and flexing. This was a pattern, a calculated image grab. He was building a fake life, and every part of it was borrowed from someone too polite to stop him. And I'd been polite for too long. I didn't have the money for a lawyer, but I did have a cousin, Derek, who'd gone to law school and now handled small business filings in Cincinnati. I called him Sunday evening. "Let me guess," Derek said. "Some dude tried to rip off your brand?" "Sort of," I said. "Except the brand is my car, my face, my driveway." Derek laughed at first, then stopped when I laid out the details. "Okay, here's the deal," he said. "You're not going to sue him for copyright infringement. You don't have a brand trademarked. But if he's using your likeness, your car, identifiable property, to promote a business, especially under false pretenses, you do have a potential tort claim for misappropriation. It's under privacy law." In English? You can scare the crap out of him with a strongly worded letter, especially if he's taking money or booking clients using false images. That word again. False. I hadn't even thought about clients. But when I checked his booking page that night, I saw it. A scheduling widget. A PayPal link. $60 for a 1-hour video call with Coach Caleb. There were testimonials too, 2 of which were just reworded versions of quotes I remembered him saying at parties. I wrote the letter, Or rather, Derek helped me write it. We printed it out, signed it, emailed it, and sent a physical copy. The first paragraph was clear. You are hereby formally notified to remove all photos containing the likeness, image, or representation of a 2016 silver Volkswagen Passat, license ending in 821, which is personal property of Nathaniel Grant. It went on for 3 pages. Tone, serious. Intent, clear. We weren't playing anymore. I expected him to call. Instead, he posted another story. This one was different. No face, just a black screen with white text. Some people can't handle the glow up. That's okay. Stay small if you need to. I'm still building. I didn't respond. But I wasn't the only one watching. Because the next day, Maria from accounting flagged me down again. Your boy's name came up in our Slack channel. What? He messaged Tony from fulfillment, tried to pitch him clarity coaching for corporate burnouts. Said he used to work in operations with you and helped restructure the workflow. He even linked a photo of your car and said it was part of a morning ritual routine he created. My jaw tightened. Maria kept going. I told Tony that was BS, by the way, but he forwarded it to HR. That's when something unexpected happened. HR sent a memo, not just to me, but to everyone. It was a blanket warning about unauthorized solicitation, brand misrepresentation, and conflict of interest disclosures, especially when referencing current or former employees. Caleb had crossed the line, and someone upstairs had noticed. 3 days later, his booking page went dark. His coaching Instagram was set to private. His clarity call links stopped working, and then I got a text. Caleb, you really called the cops on me? Me, nope. Caleb, HR? Me, they found out on their own. Caleb, you ruined everything. Me, you used everything. But here's where the story takes a turn I didn't expect. Because a week after that, I got a message from someone I didn't know. Name, Aaron. Subject, apology and some info you might want. Her message was short. Hey, Nate, I know we've never talked, but I was the girl in the car with Caleb that Sunday. I didn't know it wasn't his until you showed up. I wanted to reach out sooner, but it felt messy. I just found something I think you should see. Can we talk? For a second, I didn't know whether to respond. Then I remembered her face, the stillness in her expression when I reclaimed the driver's seat. The way she didn't say anything, didn't ask for a ride, didn't even reach for the door right away. She just watched, as if a curtain had finally dropped and she saw the stagehands pulling ropes in the background. I replied with a single sentence. Sure, just tell me the truth. We met at a coffee place near the river. Neutral ground. I picked a seat with the car parked where I could see it through the window. Still didn't trust anyone with it. Not even fate. Aaron walked in wearing a soft blue sweater, jeans, and glasses this time. No Instagram makeup, no look at me energy. She looked real, normal, like someone who'd had a hard week and was trying not to show it. She sat across from me and offered a faint smile. Thanks for coming. I nodded. I wasn't sure if you were going to yell at me for ruining a date. She laughed, not loudly, not performative, just a tired chuckle. I think you saved me from wasting 6 more months. I raised an eyebrow. 6 months? She took out her phone and slid it across the table. It wasn't a one-off. He didn't just borrow your car. He built a whole narrative around it. I tapped the screen. It was a photo album. Over 30 images, some filtered, some not. Caleb on rooftops. Caleb walking into buildings he didn't work at. Caleb writing on whiteboards in empty meeting rooms. The Passat was in at least half of them. In some, he posed like a startup founder. In others, he captioned things like, "On my way to meet a seed investor," or Team lunch after closing the deal. But there were no teammates, no investor, just Caleb, a selfie stick, and a list of hashtags he thought would buy him a better life. And then Aaron showed me the final image, a screenshot of an email chain. It was from another woman. She'd reached out to Aaron after finding a shared tag in one of Caleb's posts. She had been dating him too, or thought she was, and he'd used the same photos, same car, same lines. Except this time, he'd told her the car was a gift from a tech investor in Columbus, and he'd mentioned a partner named Nate, me. I sat back in my chair, exhaling slow. So, he turned me into a fictional investor. Yeah, Aaron said, and when I started asking questions, he got weird, defensive, said you were old school and didn't like being in photos, said you were funding his startup quietly. I laughed, bitter. Startup of what? She gave a tired shrug. I think he just wanted to be someone. I nodded. Yeah, but he didn't want to become someone. That takes work. She looked down, then said softly, I'm sorry. I saw the car. I should have known. I shook my head. You didn't do anything wrong. He used people. You just happened to catch the flash. After Aaron left, I sat there with my coffee going lukewarm and her screenshots burning in my mind. He wasn't just pretending. He was architecting a lie, layer by layer. And I realized something else. This wasn't the first time. I thought back to college, the times he'd let me cover the tab, then posted a pic of the receipt with the caption, closed it out. The times he'd borrowed a book I was reading and told people he'd recommended it. The weekend he borrowed my suit for a wedding and told everyone it was custom tailored. Every time he slid into another skin, mine or someone else's. Just long enough to steal a little glow before the spotlight moved on. And now, he was running out of people to steal from. I wasn't done. I uploaded every screenshot into a shared folder, labeled it Misuse of Identity and Property, Caleb M. Then I contacted the car club he'd tagged, sent them the photo album, the evidence, and a polite note explaining that he had never owned the vehicle in question. They removed the post within the hour. Then I emailed PayPal, reported the coaching account for misrepresentation, attached images showing he'd been collecting payments under false pretenses, using property and photos not belonging to him. They froze the account by the next day. But the final step, that came when I heard from Derek again. Hey, he said, remember when I told you didn't have a legal brand? Yeah? Well, now you do. I just helped you register your name as a sole proprietor. You're officially a small business. I blinked. Wait, what? Personal brand protection, Derek said. Just in case. I figured if someone's going to be profiting off your name or image, it should probably be you. That weekend, I started something I never thought I would. I made a post. Not for clout, not for exposure, just the truth. I wrote, This is my car. I bought it after 3 years of saving. It's not flashy, but it's mine. Recently, someone used it, and my name, to build a version of success that didn't exist. I let it slide once. I won't again. You don't need to fake your life to live one, and you don't need to steal someone else's to feel worthy of your own. It didn't go viral, but it got shared, and quietly, in DMs and comments, in forwarded screenshots, I started hearing from people he'd borrowed things from, lied to, misled, girls he dated, guys he pitched fake startup ideas to, even a cousin who said Caleb still owed him a PlayStation from 2019. It wasn't revenge, it was exposure. And in the daylight, his fake story stopped working. I didn't plan to see him again. Not in person, not after the coaching site came down, not after the post I made, not after the quiet DM avalanche of people confirming everything I already suspected. By that point, I figured Caleb had either retreated into some new online identity or packed up and moved on. The way people do when their version of the truth gets peeled off in layers. But Dayton's not that big, and one Tuesday afternoon, 2 months later, I saw him. It was at the Valero station off Route 4. The same one where he promised to return my spare key and never showed. I was filling up, my car freshly washed, windshield wipers finally upgraded to the kind that didn't streak. I just clocked out early and was debating whether to treat myself to a diner burger. That's when I heard the voice. "Didn't think you'd still be driving that thing." I looked up. Caleb stood 10 feet away, next to a busted blue Ford Escape, with a cracked taillight and what looked like a bungee cord holding the rear door shut. He was thinner, scruffier, hair pulled back into a weak bun, the kind of look people wear when they've run out of facades to polish. I didn't answer right away, just looked at him, then at his car, then back at mine. He chuckled, but there was no joy in it. "You always did like making your point without saying anything." I leaned on the nozzle. "I thought you disappeared." "Got off socials," he said. "Not much point in posting when the only likes you get are from bots and pity follows." I nodded slowly. "Or when everyone's seen behind the curtain," he smirked. "Yeah, that too." There was a silence between us. Not awkward, just long, like an old shirt you forgot, still fit. Then he said, "You humiliated me, man." I blinked. "You humiliated yourself." His face twitched. "I was just trying to look like something. You looked like me." He shifted his stance. "Yeah, because you had it figured out." "No, Caleb, I just worked. Saved. Showed up." He looked down at his shoes. They were scuffed, untied. I noticed a tear in the hem of his jeans. "I thought if I looked the part," he said quietly, "the rest would come. Like, if I could convince people, then I'd become it." I set the pump back in its cradle and clicked the receipt button. "That's not how becoming works," I said. "You don't get to skip the ugly parts." He looked up again, eyes tired. "You really filed that business name?" I nodded. "It's mine now." He gave a short, bitter laugh. "What are you even doing with it?" "Nothing, yet, but it's mine. That's the difference." He shoved his hands in his hoodie pocket. "I lost everything." I tilted my head. "What did you think you had?" He didn't answer. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Not because I missed him, not because I felt guilty, but because for the first time, I didn't feel smaller after a conversation with him. In college, Caleb was the sun, and the rest of us revolved around him. Girls, guys, professors. He had that gravity, the ability to sell a version of himself that was always just a little bigger than reality. And I used to think I was lucky to orbit close enough to catch the glow. But now I saw it for what it was. Projection. And like all projections, it only worked in the dark. The next weekend, I detailed my car. Not just washed. I mean full detail. Interior, exterior, steam-cleaned carpets, new mats. I even bought a key tracker and set up alerts. Then I went home and opened my laptop. I pulled up the LLC registration page again. Not because I needed to start a business, but because I realized all this time I'd been reacting, watching Caleb, letting his choices define mine. What if I made one without him in the picture? I wrote a blog post, just for me. No ads, no followers yet. I called it Built, Not Borrowed. The post said, "People will try to wear your life like a jacket. They'll borrow your wins, pose with your scars. And if you let them, they'll build a story that erases you in the process." But here's the thing. The story doesn't stick unless you stop showing up. This car, I saved for it. This job, I clock in every morning. This quiet little life, I own every damn line of it. You don't need followers to be real. You just need to stop handing your name to people who haven't earned the right to carry it. I hit publish. And for the first time, I didn't care who liked it, because it wasn't about them, it was about me. 1 month later, Aaron emailed again. Subject line, thought you'd appreciate this. It was a screenshot of Caleb's latest profile. Not coaching this time, not flexing, just working. Delivery driver, tri-state courier service. No hashtags, no fake testimonials, just a man earning a check. And beneath it, a note from Aaron. Maybe he's learning how to live without a mask. Thought you deserved to know. I haven't spoken to Caleb since the gas station, and I probably never will. But I still drive my Passat. Every day. It's not about the car. It's about knowing it's mine. And knowing that no one else gets to post their lies in my driveway ever again. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.